As the pocket protector version of the ThinkPad X1 Extreme, Lenovo's ThinkPad P1, starting at $1,679, $3,567 as tested, stands somewhat apart from its other mobile workstations. The 15.6-inch laptop is thinner and lighter than its ThinkPad P53 sibling, with lower memory and storage ceilings, 64GB and 4TB versus 128GB and 6TB. And its professional graphics option climbs to NVIDIA's 4GB, not VR-ready Quadro T2000 instead of the colossal 16GB Quadro RTX 5000. But those are still impressive specs, and the P1 is an impressive choice for design or engineering pros seeking a roadworthy workstation. Before we start, go ahead and subscribe. Also press the bell button to get the latest updates. Without any further delay, let us start. Like the X1 Extreme, the ThinkPad P1 is now in its second generation with improvements ranging from new GPUs to brighter screens. The bare-bones base model features a Core i5 processor, Intel integrated graphics, so we'd refuse to call it a workstation, 8GB of RAM, a 256GB solid-state drive, and a 1080p display. Power maniacs who crave 8 processing cores instead of 6 can get a Core i9-9880H CPU instead of the Xeon, though only the latter gets normal units Windows 10 Pro for workstations. Users who are the opposite of power maniacs can consider a third 15.6-inch Lenovo mobile workstation. The economical ThinkPad P53s, which is roughly the size and weight of the P1 but positioned well below today's test system and the P53. It peaks with a quad-core Core i7 CPU and NVIDIA's 2GB Quadro P520. Clad in a variation on Lenovo's matte black theme with an aluminum base and carbon fiber weave lid, the P1 measures 0.7 by 14.2 by 9.7 inches and squeaks under the 4-pound line at 3.99 pounds. That makes it definitely more portable than the P53, which is 1.2 by 14.9 by 9.9 inches and 5.5 pounds, or HP ZBook 15 G6, 1 by 14.8 by 10.4 inches, 5.8 pounds. Like other ThinkPads, it's passed military standard 810G torture tests for vibration, shock, and extreme temperature and humidity. There's almost no flex if you grasp the screen corners or mash the keyboard. The not too bulky AC adapter plugs into a proprietary port on the system's left side. Also on that side are 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, an HDMI video output, a mini Ethernet port, dongle not included, and an audio jack. On the right edge, you'll find SD and smart card slots, 2 USB 3.1 Type-A ports, 1 always-on to charge handheld devices, and a Kensington security lock slot. The P1's touchpad is buttonless, but its track-point keyboard pointing stick has nicely tactile buttons below the spacebar, including the middle button often used by computer-aided design and other independent software vendor ISV apps. Both the stick and pad provide smooth and precise cursor control. The backlit keyboard follows the familiar ThinkPad layout with home and end keys on the top row and page up and page down at bottom right by the cursor arrows, and the function key in the bottom left corner where control should be. It has a firm, slightly rubbery typing feeling with comfortable travel and feedback. A fingerprint reader near the right edge lets you forego typing passwords. You can also skip passwords by using the face recognition webcam, which has a sliding shutter to block prying eyes online. The 720p camera captures soft focus images with oddly varying brightness and contrast. You can use the Lenovo Vantage utility to turn off auto exposure, but it doesn't seem to make much difference. Small, bottom-mounted speakers pump out fairly loud audio, though it sounds hollow or boomy if you turn the volume up. Bass is minimal, but it's easy to hear overlapping tracks. Dolby Atmos software lets you choose dynamic, music, movie, game, or voice presets or play with an equalizer. The best part of the ThinkPad P1 is its OLED screen, which gives you inky blacks and extra bright whites. Colors are richly saturated and pop like poster paints, and fine details are as sharp as 4K resolution can make them. There's no built-in color calibrator as on our HP ZBook 15 G6 test unit, but there's X-Rite Color Assistant software, which lets you switch among Adobe RGB, sRGB, DCI P3, or default color palettes, and, in a clever touch, reset the system by loading factory calibration info from the cloud. In terms of raw horsepower, the ThinkPad P1 Generation 2 is sort of one rung down from the top of the ladder among 15.6-inch mobile workstations. So the three thicker and heavier models I chose for our benchmark comparisons: the Lenovo Thinkpad P53, the HP ZBook 15G6, and the Dell Precision 7540, are likely to outstrip it, being more powerful and expensive. The Precision is $5,227. The Razer Blade 15 Studio Edition is a more comparable competitor. As a slim system with a 6-core CPU and a 4K OLED screen, though a much more potent GPU, the ThinkPad P1's Quadro T2000 is the weakest in the group. Two things denote a workstation: wild overkill for humdrum apps like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and solid performance for the more demanding ISV-certified professional apps for which it's built. The ThinkPad P1 meets both criteria. It didn't set any speed records, but it's a highly capable contender. Though it oddly balked at two of our benchmarks, the PC Mark 8 storage measurement, which has thwarted workstations before, and the Spec Viewer Perf 13 playback of view sets from popular ISV apps. Its cooling fan can also make noticeable noise when the system is working hard, though it never became intolerable. Breaking the 4,000-point barrier in PC Mark 10 indicates excellent productivity performance. Breaking the 6,000-point barrier is something special. The P1 finished in the middle of the pack against most technically superior competition. Next is Maxon's CPU crunching Cinebench R15 test, which is fully threaded to make use of all available processor cores and threads. Cinebench stresses the CPU rather than the GPU to render a complex image. The result is a proprietary score indicating a PC's suitability for processor-intensive workloads. A workstation that tops 1,000 points is well suited for video editing or 3D rendering. The ThinkPad P1 Generation 2 proved the fastest of the 6-core systems, trailing only the two 8-core machines. In our Handbrake video editing benchmark, we put a stopwatch on systems as they transcode a brief movie from 4K resolution down to 1080p. It too is a tough test for multi-core, multi-threaded CPUs. Lower times are better. In addition to our CPU measurement, Cinebench R15 has an OpenGL exercise that uses that popular Vector Graphics Application Program Interface (API) to tap the GPU for hardware-accelerated rendering of a brief animated video of a car chase. Results are displayed in frames per second. Higher numbers are better. After fully recharging the laptop, we set up the machine in power save mode, as opposed to balance or high performance mode. We're available and make a few other battery-conserving tweaks in preparation for our unplugged video rundown test. We also turned Wi-Fi off, putting the laptop into airplane mode. In this test, we loop a video, a locally stored 720p file of the Blender Foundation short film Tears of Steel with screen brightness set at 50% and volume at 100% until the system quits. Battery life isn't as important for a mobile workstation as it is for an ultra-portable or convertible. These systems don't venture away from AC outlets as often. Its dazzling OLED display makes the P1 power-hungry, though it did outlast the muscle-bound Dell by an hour. Designers and content creators are extremely tempted by the Lenovo Thinkpad P1 Generation 2, particularly when outfitted with the OLED display and maybe the Core i9 CPU. Its Quadro T2000 graphics processor is chewed up and spit out by the Quadro RTX 5000. But everything else about it is top-notch, and it's far more briefcase-friendly than chunkier systems like the P53 or Precision 7540. That is all for today, folks. Tell us in the comment section about your point of view. See you soon with another amazing video.